Hello everybody, it is Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome. Welcome back to another video over here on That's Comical. And if you are watching and it happens to be a Wednesday, happy new comic book day. Well, I'm going to assume that by my getup you obviously know what we're talking about. Also, especially if you saw the thumbnail, we are finally talking about the newest addition to the next wave of MCU Disney Plus shows. We are talking about Moon Knight, starring the cast of Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, May Calloway, and the voice of the great F. Murray Abraham as Khonshu. So, I am probably going to be safe to say that if you are only an MCU faithful and you heard about this show, you were probably wondering who the heck is Moon Knight. Me, as someone who used to read comic books, I knew of Moon Knight, I knew who he was, I knew what his powers were, and I even knew what his name was, or at least one of his names, but I never actually read one of his comic books, and that was when I started getting back into comic books back in 2019, heard that one of my favorite writers, Jed MacKay, was going to start writing a brand new Moon Knight run, read the first 6 issues, the first story arc, enjoyed it, it was perfect as far as I'm concerned, and it ended on such a way that I felt I didn't need to read on. So yeah, I only read 6 issues of Moon Knight entirely. I haven't read any of the older issues, I never read the Max Bemis issues, but I know it's still great, but from what I read, I just enjoyed. So yeah, I was really excited to see Moon Knight, especially because of the fact that he's a character I want to learn more about, especially considering the cast, because I'm a big fan of Oscar Isaac and have been ever since I saw A Most Violent Year, which I highly recommend to so many people. So, who is Moon Knight? Well, Moon Knight is a guy named Mark Spector, or at least one of his identities, and he happens to be sort of like a Batman character in the Marvel world. He is a vigilante that is the avatar of the Egyptian god of the night, Khonshu, and he fights crime. Unlike Batman, he actually is a hero that does kill. And it is definitely a very interesting cult favorite amongst Marvel/comic book readers. So, in this series of 6 episodes, we're introduced to Stephen Grant, a poor schlub of a guy who's living in England as a lowly worker at a museum, loves Egyptian history, and is always just down on his luck. Nothing really seems to go his way. He's living his simple life, but he also seems to be having a couple of troubles regarding sleep. And then all of a sudden, strange things start happening, and then all of a sudden he looks at his reflection in his mirror, and it starts to talk to him, saying that he is Mark Spector, and you've got to let me take over the body. And that's where I'm going to leave it because I want you to watch the show. What's very interesting about Moon Knight is that Mark Spector suffers from D.I.D, which is dissociative identity disorder. So he actually has multiple personalities, which makes him a very interesting, dynamic character with a lot of depth. I was also very excited about this show because we're finally getting into the dark side of the Marvel Universe. I know that we were teased a little bit about Blade, and I know we're going to be getting a couple more of these shows, but once we officially get the dark universe of Marvel, we're finally going to get everything. The superheroes, the cosmic, the magic, the dark, that's everything. So, I'm actually kind of glad that I waited a little bit to review this show because I really wanted to get my thoughts stable and let them stew a little bit. There was a lot of good in this show, there was some not so good in this show, and then there are a whole bunch of my own personal feelings in regards to my expectations on this show. The best part about this show, hands down, is the acting. Getting this cast was wonderful. Oscar Isaac was beautifully casted, and my goodness, he handled every single personality of this body that was his character absolutely wonderfully. He was perfect in regards to his drama, his action, his comedic timing, wonderful. Ethan Hawke as Harrow, wonderful. And May Calloway as Lila, also really good. And I also loved F. Murray Abraham, I think, the most in this show because I just find his voice to be so interesting. I mean, I've seen him in many Wes Anderson films, but to actually just get his voice on this digital character was definitely something interesting and fresh. The action sequences were very good, some of the special effects were really good, especially diving into the world of Egyptian mythology, but I will definitely say that in regards to this show as a whole, I kind of feel that Marvel Studios really missed the mark on this one because I found most of this show to be a little bit laggy and a little bit boring, and the fact that we didn't get enough of Moon Knight and even Mr. Knight. You know, I really wanted to see more of this brutality, more of this action, more of this really cool stuff that Kevin Feige was really promoting, and we really did not seem to get that. I also feel that this probably should not have been a television show. I really think that Moon Knight would have worked better as a film, and it probably would have been better to wait until Blade finally showed up in the MCU, because then we would definitely have a better way to get Moon Knight into the story. But there were still some really good things that were seen in this, especially when we uncover the reason as to why we start off with Stephen Grant and how Mark Spector's origins really began in regards to bringing Stephen Grant into his life, as well as bringing Moon Knight into his life. That was definitely very good, but I don't think that 6 episodes was good enough to cover it. It could have been told in a much more condensed manner. And also, I feel that we just didn't get enough of the Egyptian mythology. I feel that we really didn't get enough of Ethan Hawke's character, Harrow. I think we would have dived more into his past and why he was so adamant about hunting Stephen/Mark and going up against Khonshu. There was just so much more of this story that I feel could have been told in a much better way. And again, I also feel that as a movie, we also could have gotten it much better that way. And that's pretty much where it left me. Like, I was anticipating a lot more, and I just don't feel that I got exactly what I wanted, but I'm not going to say that I didn't get a good show. I still feel that there are a lot of redeeming qualities about Moon Knight, and based on the fact that we got a post-credit scene, we should definitely be getting a Season 2, because to not get a Season 2 and open up more of this world would be wrong. Especially considering the fact that when this show does come to an end, remember, it's only 6 episodes, I still have no idea where Moon Knight falls in regards to the entirety of the MCU. There's no links or any references to anything else in the Marvel Universe, and by this time, you would anticipate even this character to at least have heard of Captain America or Iron Man, or hell, because of the fact that this movie takes place mostly in Europe or Asia, you know, you could have at least heard about the 10 Rings, or you could have at least heard about Hydra. Something to reference the rest of the MCU would have been great, but we did not get that. But I still feel that Moon Knight left us with a lot of high hopes and more anticipation, and I'm hoping that people will binge watch this show. I actually am hoping to revisit it and get a better understanding of it for my personal self, and hopefully we will get more of this character, because I feel to just end it on 6 episodes and just forget about him and not even know where he's going to end up and where he's going to show up next in the MCU storyline, I feel that that would be a big mistake on Marvel's part. So I would suggest to watch Moon Knight and figure it out for yourself. That's the best way that I can explain Moon Knight to you, and that's where we're going to leave it today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments in the box below. Let's discuss Moon Knight, and I will see you in the next one.